We have also been able to run budget surpluses. We've quadrupled the state's rainy day fund, almost quadrupled it since I became governor in 2019. I mean, I know there's a lot of economic uncertainty. You see the market fluctuating. People are predicting this and that. Look, if I knew what was going to happen, I'd be running a hedge fund, right? And I'd be making a lot more money than I make now. But the reality is we got to prepare for all kinds of contingencies. And so because we've put so much money away in our rainy day fund, Florida is going to be well positioned to handle whatever comes our way in the ensuing weeks, months, and years. We've also been able to cut taxes by a record amount since I've become governor, and I've been leading the charge now saying, as good as that's been, the best way to provide relief to taxpayers in Florida is to do property tax relief. I think it's very important that people recognize as Florida has boomed, property values have increased, and there's some benefit to that. Obviously, if your home increases in value, your wealth is increased. Makes it harder for first-time home buyers to afford. I do think you'll see that correct. These things go up and down. That's just the way it is. But you know, you have people who bought a house many years ago now having the assessed value higher and higher, and even though you have homestead protection, it still goes up. And people are paying more and more for property taxes, even when they've paid off their mortgage and everything. And it's almost like you don't even own your property, because if you don't pay rent to the government, they can come and kick you off out of your own house. And so we've said this is something that's really important to people, and we want to do certainly an amendment on the ballot in 2026 to be able to provide Floridians with really meaningful protections against what we've seen happen with property taxes. And I know that there's a lot of people that want to see that. I don't know how much we're seeing interest in that in, say, our Florida House of Representatives. Their view is, rather than just because I want to do property taxes, they don't want to do anything I want to do. And so they're basically trying to roll back what we've done for the last 6 years. But their view is they want to do a tax cut that is 3/4 of a penny of the sales tax, which is going to disproportionately benefit tourists and non-residents. Why would you be cutting taxes on Canadian tourists? I want to cut taxes on Florida homeowners. I'd let the tourists pay more for all I care. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's asking for this, but I think this is just part and parcel of what the Florida House of Representatives is doing this legislative session. They are the least productive Florida House of Representatives that we have seen in modern Florida history. And I can tell you they're the least productive since I've been governor by a country mile. I mean, it is not even close in terms of what they're doing. One of the things I think it's important to know, they've done this budget, and they're negotiating with the Senate, and the Senate's done a better job on all this stuff, but it is what it is. They submitted a budget that is going to take about $500 million that's earmarked through dock stamps to major infrastructure projects. And the thing is, these are all over the state. They're in St. Lucie County, Indian River, they're in Miami-Dade, they're in all these places. That money is important because people have been planning on these projects. These projects are underway. It also allows us to draw more funding for the project. So it's not just, you may have $5 million for some road project. It's that $5 million triggers even more money. And they're looking to do away with that revenue that has gone to these projects and just dump it into general revenue. Well, that's going to throw those projects into turmoil. Did they campaign on doing that? We've done a lot to advance infrastructure priorities. We're a growing state. We have no choice but to do it, and that has been an important part of how we've been able to accelerate road projects, how we've been able to do improvements at airports and seaports, and nobody has ever talked about diverting those funds to general revenue. No one campaigned on that, but that's what their budget's doing. That will short-circuit projects in almost every community, major community throughout the state of Florida. I got a massive spreadsheet. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm not sure that they realize that that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. Their budget also seeks to defund key elements of our Florida Highway Patrol. They defund body armor. They defund 90 positions. They defunded the pay raises that we had to do. And look, I think they deserve it. I think it's the right thing to do, but it's also, we have to do it if we want to keep good people, because they can make more money doing other things. So they've done that, And we were down in Southwest Florida last week. You have these, you have one was a widow, the other's spouse of a trooper that got shot and survived, and they're just beside themselves that this is going on. But that's what they did in their budget. I was down in Naples yesterday highlighting, if you look over the last 6+ years, one of the things that we've done probably better than has ever been done in Florida is not just talk about, but deliver on a commitment to Everglades restoration and water quality improvements. We've had historic funding. We've either completed or broken ground on over 70 projects just since 2019. We have record amount of water now flowing to the Florida Everglades, down to Florida Bay. The salinity levels are the best they've been in recent times. We've obviated the need to do the types of discharges that you remember in 2016 and 2018 at a Lake Okeechobee that hit the east and west coast of Florida respectively during those 2 years. We're about to bring on the C43 reservoir, which is west of Lake Okeechobee. We did the C44 reservoir and completed that, which is on the St. Lucie side of Lake Okeechobee. So all these things have been really, really important. And our economy is really based on water. Our economy is based on making sure that the plumbing of the state is working as God intended it. And we've had huge support for many, many years in both houses of the legislature. Well, the budget for the Florida House of Representatives slashes support for Everglades and water quality by almost $500 million. I mean, that's a massive evisceration. And the question is that what they campaigned on? Did they tell you that? No, a lot of these guys campaigned taking credit for what they had been a part of, and deservedly so, to produce this historic level of support and to make all this progress that has been done. So that's what's going on. I think it's really disappointing to see when you're doing this, with me, like, we're going to be a law and order state. We're going to do Everglades water quality. We're going to make sure we're cutting taxes, that we're paying down debt. We're going to make sure we're doing infrastructure. We're going to make sure we're doing education, school choice. We've raised teacher pay. We're doing higher education, getting the woke out of higher education, all these different things. Like that's what I told you I'd do, that's what I've done, and many other things. I think you get into problems when you run on one banner and then get in and do different. And not only that, even sabotage the good works that's been done. They just did this education bill in the Florida House of Representatives to try to roll back the reforms that we have instituted over these last 6 years. They basically want to allow the universities to be captured, to allow institutional capture by the political left. That's what happens in other parts of the country when you don't have strong policies making sure that especially our universities are staying on track. And so they do this bill, I call it the Make Universities Woke Again Act, because that's basically what will end up happening. And they got a higher percentage of Democrats voting for it than Republicans voting for it. This is a supermajority Republican, almost 3-to-1 majorities, and yet they're losing more of their own members than the Democrats are losing. That's not what people voted for. That's not what they campaigned on. So we see all this, and they're trying to do a lot of undoing litigation and legal reform and tort reform that's been done. And if that agenda were to pass, you would see doctors leaving the state because they want to go after medical. You would see auto insurance rates. We actually have so far in 2025, average of 5% decrease in auto insurance premiums amongst the major carriers. That's not happening, I think, anywhere else in the country. The only reason it's happening is because of the litigation reform, because the cost of a lot of the lawsuits where you sue first, ask questions later, that is no longer being incentivized in Florida, and so it has made this, it's given consumers a break. But they want to overturn that. They want to overturn all this stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, who is asking for this? It's obviously more of a special interest play. So that's just, unfortunately, what's going on there. I know they're discussing the budget, and hopefully they're able to get to a place that makes sense for the people of Florida. But we're not turning back on the progress that we've made. We are not going to turn our back on law enforcement. We are not going to turn our back on Everglades restoration. We're not going to short circuit needed infrastructure programs. We're not going to let up on demanding property tax relief. We're not going to let up on demanding that the House of Representatives address the condo crisis that has been created through legislation that had been passed several years ago by the Florida legislature. You know, you have people that are getting hit with these crushing assessments. They're on fixed income. A lot of them own their condos outright. They can't afford to fork over $100,000. And this is being put forward basically because of policies that were implemented by the Florida legislature. So you have a responsibility to look at that, recognize those unintended consequences, and help people stay in their homes. That's what you should be doing, but they haven't been willing to do that yet either. So which brings us to today. So we have different tools in our toolbox where we're able to promote infrastructure development, economic growth, and workforce training called the Job Growth Grant Fund. It's been very effective. It's been something that we're able to receive a lot of applications for and then make appropriate determinations about what can advance the ball forward. And so I'm proud to be here to announce a number of awards that we're going to be doing. So I'm going to do the awards. We'll have some folks speak. Then we'll do the check presentations after that. So I'm pleased to announce we're awarding $4 million to Indian River State College to support the development of the Institute for Industrial Manufacturing and Production Training. This new institute will offer accelerated hands-on training in high-demand fields, including quality control and assurance, metrology and inspection, system maintenance, and process automation. These programs will directly support the growing needs of manufacturers in the region and prepare students for careers in advanced manufacturing. So I think this is exactly what we're talking about. Since I've been governor, we've added more than 100,000 manufacturing jobs in the state of Florida. We've increased manufacturing businesses by over 30%. And these are jobs that I think are really meaningful. You know, some people talk about making things like, you know, there are certain things that are made, like T-shirts in Vietnam. You know, I'm not sure that you'd have a lot of people in Florida that would be lining up to do that. But when you start talking about advanced manufacturing, you're talking about jobs where one person can support a family. This is something that's really, really significant. So I'm glad that we've really become a growing center for manufacturing, and we want to continue to do that as we go forward. Number two, we're awarding $4.9 million to Miami-Dade College to launch new aircraft mechanic training programs. These programs will provide students with a direct pipeline into maintenance, repair, and operations, requiring minimal additional training after graduation. Classes are expected to begin in 2025, with more than 450 students projected to complete the program in the coming years. Now, aircraft maintenance is a huge, huge demand in the state of Florida. I mean, we're definitely the aviation capital of the United States, certainly when you talk about private aviation and all this stuff. So there are a lot of opportunities, but then it also bleeds into things like what's going on in the Space Coast. There's people that go through even high school programs for things like aviation mechanics, and they can get hired by Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, right out of high school. I mean, that's happened. So this is something I think that's really, really meaningful. I'm proud of Miami-Dade for stepping up and offering students this really important opportunity. In addition to the workforce development grants, we're also going to make two targeted infrastructure investments. First, $2.1 million to the Sebring Airport Authority to reconstruct and resurface nearly 3/4 of a mile of Webster Turn Drive, a key roadway serving the industrial area of the multimodal logistics center. This will help with logistics efficiency and better connect local businesses to the airport. Their anticipated jobs are 100 new jobs, fiscal impact of $3.4 million once this project is complete. And finally, we're awarding $3.5 million to Wakulla County for the development and construction of two new county-owned buildings at Opportunity Park. These facilities, measuring 100,000 and 150,000 square feet, will attract high-skill, high-wage jobs in targeted industries and to further support economic growth in the region. This builds on the $4.5 million awarded to Wakulla County in December of last year through our Rural Infrastructure Fund. Today's investments in infrastructure are projected to have an economic impact of more than $13 million, and our investments in workforce development will provide up to $64 million in wages for participants of these new programs. So our commitment to economic opportunity, economic growth, strong infrastructure, which serves as a foundation of both of those, remains very steadfast. And today is a great day to deliver these awards